The fishing industry has long been a significant driver of Canada's economy, contributing billions of dollars in revenue each year. At the forefront of this industry is the lobster sector, generating an estimated worth of over $484 million, a large portion of which comes from exporting lobsters worldwide. This succulent crustacean is not only an integral part of Canadian cuisine, but has also gained an international reputation, becoming a highly sought-after commodity. Its rich taste and tender texture have made it one of the most valuable catches in Canada, contributing billions of dollars to the economy each year. In 2021 alone, Canada exported 95.5 million kilograms of lobsters, worth over $2 billion CAD, with the United States being the largest market, importing nearly 80% of all exported lobsters. But it's not just the U.S. Countries like China, Japan, and South Korea are also major fans, importing significant quantities of lobsters every year. As we explore the fascinating world of Canadian lobster fishing, one question looms large. Just how do the Canadian fish farmers reel in enough lobsters to generate a whopping $484 million in revenue each year? Lobster fishing has been a part of Canadian history and culture for centuries, dating back to the early days of European settlement. The first documented catch of lobsters in Canada was in the 1600s, and it is believed that Indigenous peoples in the region were catching lobsters long before that. Today, lobster fishing remains a vital industry in Canada, particularly in the Atlantic provinces. The three main provinces where Canadian fishermen catch lobsters are Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick, which together account for the majority of the country's lobster catches. In these provinces, lobster fishing typically takes place between late fall and early spring, as this is when lobsters are most abundant and of the highest quality. Despite the value of the Canadian lobster industry, lobsters are not typically farmed in aquaculture operations like certain other fish species. This is because lobsters require very specific conditions to thrive, including clean water, appropriate temperatures, and access to the right type of food. Although attempts have been made to farm lobsters, the challenges associated with reproducing their natural habitat in captivity have made it difficult to do so on a large scale. Additionally, the unique flavor and texture of wild-caught lobsters, which is largely a result of their natural habitat and diet, make them highly valued by consumers and preferred over farmed lobsters, which can be more uniform in flavor and texture. Setting up custom-made, wire mesh lobster traps is the first step in the lobster harvesting process. The lobsters are captured in these traps while water may still travel through. It is truly remarkable how carefully these traps are designed to avoid harming the lobsters or the ecosystem of the sea. The lobsters may enter and exit the traps without incurring major harm or endangering the ecosystem. The benefits, however, go beyond that. By building the traps correctly, fishermen can reduce the likelihood of bycatch or the unintended capture of species other than those that were intended. This is especially important given the precarious status of many marine ecosystems throughout the world. This method is, thus, a delicate balance between meeting the demand for these delectable crustaceans and protecting the marine ecosystem for future generations. Once set, the traps are left in the water for up to 48 hours. Fishermen keep a watchful eye to make sure everything is running smoothly. Losing or damaging a trap is a costly mistake for the fishermen and a potential threat to the marine ecosystem. After spending between 24 and 48 hours in the traps, the lobsters are finally retrieved from the water and transported to shore. This is where the real work begins. To ensure that the lobsters remain alive and healthy during transport, specialized boats are used. These boats are equipped with tanks or holding areas that are filled with chilled seawater to maintain the lobster's appropriate temperature. The tanks may also have aeration systems to make sure that the water is properly oxygenated, creating a comfortable and healthy environment for the lobsters. It is important to note that lobsters are highly valued for their meat, and their flavor and texture are best when they are alive and fresh. When a lobster dies, the meat begins to decompose rapidly, affecting both its taste and texture. It is therefore crucial for lobsters to remain alive until they are sold and cooked to ensure the best possible taste and texture for consumers. Additionally, keeping lobsters alive until they are sold ensures that customers are getting the freshest product possible. which is an important factor for many seafood consumers. Once the lobsters reach the shore, they go through a sorting process based on size and weight, which is essential for a sustainable fishery. Only lobsters that meet the minimum size requirements are kept for sale, while smaller ones are carefully returned to the water. The minimum size requirements for lobsters vary depending on the region and the specific regulations in place. In general, these regulations are designed to ensure that only mature lobsters are harvested and that smaller lobsters are allowed to grow and contribute to the overall health of the population. In Canada, for example, the minimum legal size for a lobster is typically around 72 millimeters, 2.83 inches in carapace length. However, these regulations can change from year to year depending on the state of the lobster population and other factors. To keep track of the lobsters during transport and sorting, fishermen use a variety of methods. In some cases, each lobster may be tagged or marked in some way so that it can be identified later. This can be done using a variety of techniques, including physical tags or markings, electronic tagging, or even using different colors of dye to mark the lobsters. In other cases, fishermen may simply rely on their own experience and knowledge of the lobsters to sort them quickly and efficiently. Experienced fishermen can often assess the size and weight of a lobster with just a quick glance, allowing them to sort large volumes of lobsters in a short amount of time. Once the lobsters have been sorted, they are placed in holding tanks filled with seawater until they are ready for transport. Canada is known for producing some of the highest quality lobsters in the world, and the industry takes great care to ensure that this reputation is maintained. In fact, the Canadian lobster industry has a well-established certification program called the Marine Stewardship Council Certification. This program recognizes fisheries that are committed to sustainable fishing practices and ensuring that their products are of high quality. By meeting the strict standards of the MSC, Canadian lobster fishermen can ensure that their catch is not only sustainable, but also meets the highest quality standards. The lobster industry in Canada not only serves as a source of revenue, but also a source of employment for many Canadians. With an estimated 50,000 individuals working in the industry across the country, the jobs provided by the industry are crucial for many rural communities in Canada. These jobs offer stable employment opportunities and often provide competitive wages. In fact, according to the Fisheries Council of Canada, the average salary for a lobster fisherman in Canada is around $65,000 per year, making it a well-paying occupation. Despite the many economic benefits of the lobster industry, there are concerns about its environmental impact. Overfishing and the destruction of lobster habitats have led to declines in lobster populations in some areas. To combat these concerns, Canadian fish farmers are implementing sustainable fishing practices and supporting habitat restoration efforts. Additionally, many fish farmers participate in lobster hatchery programs to ensure a stable supply of juvenile lobsters. In conclusion, the Canadian lobster industry is a vital sector of the country's economy, providing employment for thousands of people and contributing billions of dollars annually. The industry's success is a result of the efficient and sustainable harvesting methods used by Canadian fishers, as well as their commitment to maintaining the highest standards of quality. While environmental concerns continue to be a challenge, the industry's future is bright with the continued implementation of sustainable practices and habitat restoration initiatives. With these efforts, the Canadian lobster industry can continue to thrive for generations to come.